everyone! Thanks for joining me for Ready, Set, Snow. This is our second winter-themed book party. Today we're featuring the story Andy and Sandy and the First Snow by Tomie DePaola, who is one of my favorite author illustrators. Now this story was pretty simple. Andy and Sandy head out into a snowy day, and even though it's kind of cold and windy, they still find some really fun things to do together in the snow. And of course, our story wraps up with them tucked up inside, nice and warm, which I think is probably the best way to wrap up any winter adventure, right? So this story is what we would call realistic fiction. It's something that could happen in real life to you or one of your friends or somebody else you know. There's no magic or time travel or talking dinosaurs or anything like that. So if this was a story that you enjoyed, we do have more adventures with Andy and Sandy by Tomie DePaola, and we also have a lot of other really great realistic fiction options in our early reader section. So I would definitely encourage you to take a look in the catalog or come in to visit us at the Indian Trails Library Kids Desk, and we are more than happy to help you find some other really great reading choices. Now for our projects today, if you've picked up your supply kit at the Indian Trails Library, you should have most of the things that you'll need, but you are going to want to grab a few things from home. So we'll want to have scissors, tape, crayons, colored pencils, markers, whatever you have at home to decorate. And then I've got two kinds of glue today. I have my glue stick, and then I also have some school glue. This isn't required, but it might make one of our projects a little bit easier. So if you have it on hand, you'll want to grab it. Otherwise, we'll just make sure that we've got tape and glue stick, and that'll help us get everything put together. So our first project does involve paint. So you can see I've got my apron on to protect my clothes. You might also want to put some paper, something down to protect your work surface as well. So get your supplies together, get your workspace set up, and then we'll get started with our first project. We're going to start out with a snowy winter scene. This is probably our simplest project today, but it's also potentially the messiest. And since we're using paint, we want to make sure that it's got time to dry. So we are going to grab our snow globe kit. So that's got the blue backdrop and then the plastic bag with sticker and tree pieces inside. You'll also want to have your cork and then your white paint. So I've got mine in my little dish here, but you can use yours in the small plastic container that it came in. So our first step is going to be to add some snowflakes to our blue background. And the way that we're going to do that is by stamping with our cork. So the key to this is you want to get a little bit of paint so that it covers the whole bottom piece of your cork, and that's going to give you a nice circle pattern. But you don't want to get too much, because if you get so much paint on here, when you try to press it down onto your paper, it's just going to kind of splat everywhere. So we're going to dip the end of the cork into our paint, kind of shake or tap off any extra. All right, so I've got some white paint on the bottom of my cork, and then I am going to add a stamp just by pressing that down. So you can see that made a circle pattern on my paper. Now you can add as many snowflakes as you would like. I'm going to concentrate on putting mine kind of around the edges because that will make it a little bit easier when we finish our project and we add our trees on, kind of keeping a space a little bit more clear for those. So you can keep adding your snowflakes. Okay, I'm going to do one more up here at the top, and then one more on the side. Maybe a little bit. Fill in just a little bit here. All right, I think that looks good. So I've added my snowflakes to my backdrop. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside so that the paint has time to dry, and then we'll come back to this at the end of the video and we'll have a chance to add those trees on to kind of fill in our winter scene. So I'm going to set my paint off to the side as well. And then if you have any paint on your work surface, make sure that you clean that up. Make sure that your surface is clean and dry before you bring out your supplies for your next project, just so we're not getting paint all over everything. So we're going to get set, and then I'll meet you back here for our second craft. Something that a lot of people like to do when the weather gets really, really cold is go ice skating. And we actually are really lucky because in the park right next door to the Indian Trails Library, they just put in a skating rink. This is a temporary thing that they only do during the winter. And you'll know that the ice has frozen solid enough and it's safe to skate when the green flag is up. So that kind of inspired our next project. This, I think, is going to be the most challenging one that we try today. And this is one that you might want to have either a grown-up or an older sibling help out with, because our kind of final assembly step is a little bit tricky. So this one, we're going to need our scissors. You're going to want to have all of your adhesive options. So I've got my tape and then my glue and glue stick. And then from your kit, you are going to need your piece of cardstock with the skater template on it. You're going to need your clothespin, your magnet wand. We're going to kind of set that to the side, but we'll need that at the end. Should have a couple of snowflake stickers, and then your big plate. So this is going to be our skating rink, and we are going to create a skater that can move around the skating rink with our magnet wand, which is pretty cool. So our first step is going to be to decorate your skater, and you can make it look like yourself or somebody else. Add whatever color and details you'd like. So you can see I gave mine a purple shirt, some blue pants, and a red scarf and mittens, and then a green hat, because I thought those were some fun colors. And then you can see I've got longer hair, so I kind of added that in as well. So whatever details you want, go ahead and get your person decorated. Pause the video if you need to. And then when you're ready, we're going to come back, use our scissors, and we're going to cut this out. Now, we don't need to cut it out in really fine detail. So I'm going to just kind of cut in an oval shape around the person. It's kind of key. I'm going to see if I can kind of, there we go, turn that a little bit so you can see. We don't want to cut out too much of the paper, because that'll make it harder when we go to put everything together at the end for us to attach our skater to the magnet. So you can see I'm just kind of cutting around sort of an egg shape. Okay. There we go. So my skater is ready. Now we are going to keep the extra paper because we've got to use it. So I'm just going to come down here at the bottom. I'm going to cut straight across. So I have this rectangle of paper that I can use. I'm going to set that to the side. And then the rest of this is scrap, which you can use if you want to, but I don't think we'll need it. All right, so we're going to set our scissors down. So we have our skater. Now we need somewhere for them to skate, right? So our next step is going to be to decorate our skating rink. Now, the key for this is that we want to make sure that the inside of the plate is going to stay clear, because if we add stickers or other decorations to it, it's going to be hard for the magnet to move around. We don't want it to get stopped because, you know, it's trying to run over a sticker or something like that. So any decorating that you do is going to be around the edge. You can see there's this little piece here that kind of sticks out on the side. That's where we're going to focus our decorations. So I'm going to take a couple of stickers here, and I think I'm going to add that kind of on the edge, maybe let it overlap a little bit there. I'm going to stick those on, so those are kind of at the front of my skating rink there. And then I think I'm going to grab one of my crayons. Open up and see. Oh, here I've got a blue crayon on top. So I'm going to use that to add some circle shapes and then maybe some kind of star snowflake shapes in a pattern around the edge here. You can make this as simple or as complicated as you want to. So if you want to add a lot of colors, or you want to add maybe some construction paper, if you have other stickers at home that you want to put on there, all of that would totally work. If you just want to leave it plain, you say, I am not in the mood to decorate it today, that's okay too. All right, so I've got my pattern going around the edge there. So my decoration is only on this edge part, and you can see the whole inside of my plate is still empty. All right, so we have our skating rink, we have our skater, now we need to put them together. This is the step that you might need some help from another person with, because we've got to attach the magnet to our skater. And the way that we're going to do that is with the help of our clothespin. So I am going to take my skater and I'm going to tape them to one of the legs of my clothespin. That's going to be our first step. So when you do this, you want to put your skater kind of inside the V at the top of the clothespin. And then whatever leg is going to be on the back, so you can see that's the plain side where we don't have any decoration, that's where we're going to want to tape. So I'm going to hold this in place with one hand, and I'm going to grab my piece of tape, which is why you might need help from another person, because it's not super easy to do by yourself. Okay, so now I am going to use my tape across, so it's holding that piece of paper onto the leg of the clothespin. So I'm going to add a couple more pieces of tape just to make sure that this is really securely holding together. And the reason we're using tape is because that's going to give us a better hold than trying to use glue. And with glue, we'd have to wait for it to dry before we could see if it stuck on well enough, right? So I'm going to add one more piece kind of going up the middle here. Okay, there we go. So you can see I have my skater firmly secured to my clothespin, and when I turn around on the other side, you can see the other leg of the clothespin is here, and then that mouth at the bottom is going to be where we attach the magnet. So you remember that piece of paper that we set to the side, right? That was kind of a scrap from the bottom of our template. We're going to use this to help connect our magnet to our clothespin. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to cut it about in half, because this is a little bit bigger than what I need. All right. So now I have a little rectangle of paper here. So the first thing I'm going to do is to fold it in half. So I'm going to go edge to edge, hot dog style. This is a thicker paper, so make sure you get a really nice fold. So now you can see I've got a fold down the middle, still a rectangle shape, but it's just a little bit thinner on that side, right? So this part is going to come into the mouth of our clothespin. So I'm going to hold my clothespin open, and then I'm going to take my piece of paper, so you can see this is the edge that we just folded, and I'm going to put that right inside. Okay, so now we just need to add our magnet, right? So we are going to put our magnet at the bottom. so I'm actually going to open this back up. I'm going to take my piece of paper. Again, this might be something that you want to have a grown-up help you with here. We are going to add flaps onto our paper. And the way that's going to work is by taking an edge and folding it into the center. Okay, so I've got this fold here. So this edge folding into the center. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. All right, so now if I straighten this out, you can see we've got our original fold in the center, so that's kind of like a little mountain peak almost. And then we've got two tabs coming out to the side, right? So I'm going to hold it this way so that, again, it's kind of hot dog style. I'm going to take this clothespin, open it up, and then it's going to come down right in the center there. So we've got a nice flat space here at the bottom to put our magnet on. All right, so let's open this up. Get our paper. All right, so now your magnet is going to be a flat black circle. The way that we're going to attach this to our paper is twofold. We've got two steps here. So the first thing we're going to do, if you've got some school glue, I'm going to recommend using it. Otherwise, you can use your glue stick. We're going to be generous with our glue. So we're going to hold our paper so the flat edge is up. We're going to hold that in one hand. We're going to take our glue. Let's see if I can get this going. To open this up here. You know what? I'm going to use my glue stick. All right, so we're going to take our glue and we're going to add quite a bit of it in the center. All right, so you can see that is super, super gluey, right? And then I am going to take my magnet and I'm going to put it right in the center there. So that glue is going to hold on. All right, now, again, might want some help from a grown-up with this. We are going to use our scissors and we're just going to cut kind of on the edge here to make our piece of paper a little bit smaller. All right. So now we know what size we need, right? Okay, so we've got our magnet pressing into the glue on our paper. Just to make sure that it's going to stay in place, we're going to add some tape as well. So I'm going to get a pretty long piece of tape here. I'm going to stick it onto the flat edge of the magnet, and then I'm going to wrap it around the paper here. So I'm kind of turning and wrapping the tape, trying to keep the same shape of the paper so it still has that little peak, kind of like the letter V, right? Just wrapping my tape. All right. So hopefully that magnet should be secure now. It's sticking with glue to the paper, and then we've also got the tape wrapped around it to hold it in place. All right, so we're gonna make sure that we're holding it with the magnet at the bottom and then this little kind of tab part of our piece of paper at the top. And then we're gonna open up that clothespin and that's gonna hold on to the magnet. Now, if you feel like your skater is doing okay just with the clothespin holding on to it, great. If you feel like it's wobbling around a little bit, you know what? We still have our tape out, right? We can add some more. Again, nice, generous piece of tape. And we can always wrap this around so it's covering the clothespin here. And then it's just going all the way around our piece of paper. That was a pretty big piece of tape, wasn't it? Okay, so you can see I've got that wrapped around there now. So that should be very secure. Okay, so I'm going to scooch my other supplies out of the way here. This is our final step. So we have our skating rink plate. We have our skater with the magnet on the bottom. And then we're going to use our magnet wand to move the skater around. Now, you want to make sure that you figure out which side of your magnet wand will connect to your magnet. So you can see that there's one side that when I try to get it close to the magnet, it doesn't want to go. They're resisting each other. But if I flip it over, then bam, they connect. All right. So you want to make sure you've got the good side of your wand up. You're going to put your figure skater onto your plate. Hold it very carefully, or maybe have somebody else hold it for you. The wand is going to come around underneath, and then you heard that, right? That was my magnet wand connecting to the magnet connected to my skater. So now as I move my wand around, you can see it's like my skater is moving around the skating rink. That might take a little bit of practice to get it to move the way that you want it to, but you can get it to do spins or just go around the edge. And this is a really, really fun thing for you to play with and to show off to other people. If only ice skating was this easy in real life, right? All right, so I'm gonna take my magnet wand. I'm gonna set it down here. When you store this, just be a little bit careful because the magnet and the magnet wand will want to go together. I do suggest storing them separately so you can see I've got my wand over here, I've got my skater over here, so the two magnet pieces aren't touching, because if they connect together while they're being stored and you want to play with it again, it's a little tough to get the magnets apart, right? So I'm going to put them over here. They need a rest after that really energetic skating session. All right, make sure that your workspace is nice and clear, and we are going to jump into project number 3. All right, next up is a paper cup snow person. So in our story, Andy and Sandy built some really creative snow people, right? They added all kinds of super cool features like hats, eyes, and scarves and everything. Something that you've probably done on a snowy day before too. But instead of having to go outside and build up a big pile of snow and then try to find things to add to your snow person, we are going to go a much easier route, and we are going to do it with a paper cup. So you'll want to have the white paper cup from your kit. You'll also want the smaller brown paper bag, and let's dump that out, see what we have inside. All right, so we have 2 paper circles. We have an orange piece of paper that we'll use for our nose. We have a piece of felt that's going to be our snow person's scarf, and then a piece of pipe cleaner that we can use for the top part of their earmuffs. Want to keep their ears warm, right? We are also going to need some glue and tape for this one. You probably will want to have your crayons or colored pencils or markers as well. You know what, I just remembered, I forgot one supply. Hold on. Our snow person's eyes, right? So you should also have 2 googly eyes that we can add on. So what I was going to say is you can also grab your crayon, colored pencil, or marker to add on to your snow person's face, because our cup is paper. So you will be able to draw on it if you want to. So we're going to take our cup and we're going to flip it upside down. So this is the solid bottom piece that's going to be at the top, and then we're going to rest the part that you would normally drink out of on the table. I'm going to suggest starting out with your 2 paper circles. Those are going to go on the side of your cup to be your snow person's earmuffs. So if you would like to decorate them, add either a color or a design to them, do that first and then we'll glue them on. So I think I will open this up and get another crayon. I think my snow person is going to have purple earmuffs, so I'm just going to add a little crayon to that. All right, so my circles are decorated. They're ready to be glued on. So I'm just going to flip them over and then add some glue with my glue stick. Again, you can be fairly generous here because we want to make sure that these stick in place. All right, glue is ready. So now I'm going to add these onto my cup. So I'm going to take one and I'm going to glue it onto the side. So you can see it's pretty close to the top, right? And then I'm just going to kind of turn it to the other side and try to match it up about the same spot. So again, pretty close to the top there. And you can see that there's one on each side, right? And the reason we're doing this first is because this will kind of help us gauge where the rest of our snow person's face is going to be. If you know where somebody's ears are, then you know their eyes are going to be kind of in line with that. And then their nose is going to be a little bit below their eyes, right? So it just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so my snow person has their earmuffs on. So now I'm going to add the rest of their face. Now you are welcome to just use your crayons, colored pencils, or markers to draw a face on your snow person. If you want to go that direction, totally fine. I'm going to use the two Google eyes. So I've got those here. And then also my orange piece of paper. So I'm going to start with the Google eyes. Technically, these are stickers. I think the sticker backs are really, really hard to peel off. So if you have a grown-up or maybe an older sibling that can help you out with it and you can get them peeled, that is fantastic. I'm going to use my glue. So I'm going to grab my glue stick again. And then I can see kind of where my earmuffs are. I'm just going to go into the center of the cup. Again, be pretty generous with my glue. All right. And then I can add one, two eyeballs. All right, so we're partway there. The next thing we're going to add is our snow person's nose. So you can see we've got a larger piece of orange paper. We definitely don't need all of this. And again, you can get a little creative here if you want to. Usually when we see a snow person, their nose is a triangle shape because a lot of people like to use a carrot when they make one. But you don't have to do that if you want to make yours a square or a circle, or again, if you just want to draw a nose on, that is totally fine. Make this project your own. All right, so I'm going to cut a small triangle here because I want to make sure it's going to fit onto my snow person's face, right? And then I'm just going to cut it a little bit on the side so that my triangle's a little bit more even here, right? I still have some glue on my snow person's face. I'm going to add a little bit more because it dried a little bit on me. So again, just kind of below where my eyes are. Make sure that is nice and gluey. And then I'll add my nose on. There you go. All right, so earmuffs, eyes, nose. Now, if you want to add a mouth, take a moment to pause the video, add that extra step. I'm not going to. I think that my snow person looks really cute just as is. What else do they need? All right, we are going to add this piece, our pipe cleaner, and that's going to be the band that connects the two sides of their earmuffs, right? Because that's what helps to keep it on your head. So we're going to take this and we're just going to rest it on top of our cup. And then we are going to bend the sides down. All right. So I'm going to hold one finger on the top. So I'm holding my pipe cleaner in place. And with my other hand, I'm just going to press the side down over the edge so that it kind of matches up. There we go. Matches up with my earmuff there. So I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to hold the pipe cleaner in place with my finger. And then my other hand is just going to press, 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 press. And then, there we go. You can see my snow person's got some earmuffs. Now, if you feel that you really want to hold the pipe cleaner in place, this would be somewhere you could add a little bit of tape. So you could take your piece of tape, line up your pipe cleaner with that paper circle, and then tape it down. The other option would be to take a small piece of tape, hold your pipe cleaner in place with one hand, and then add that tape to the top to hold that in place. If you want to leave it loose, that's up to you as well. All right, so we've got eyes, nose, earmuffs. We're going to add a scarf as our final step. So we're going to take that piece of felt and wrap it around the base of the cup where our snow person's neck would be, right? Because that's where we would wrap our scarf if we were getting bundled up to go outside. So I am going to hold my cup with one hand. I'm going to hold my piece of felt with the other, and I'm going to try to match this up on my snow person's back. Again, if you want to add a little piece of tape here to kind of hold this in place, that might help. So I'm just wrapping it around the bottom of the cup so that my two ends meet in the front here. I'm going to hold that in place, get my piece of tape, and use that to hold my scarf closed. Now you can get a little bit fancier if you want to take your tape and you want to make it more of a bubble shape. So hold it on one finger, wrap it around so that you've got like a loop. You can use that to hold your scarf in place instead. So I can put that loop in the center and then press the ends into it here. It's a little bit fancier because then you don't see the tape on top. So it's still being held in place, but it's not quite as obvious. And then of course, like we talked about, you can always put the tape on the back. I do recommend having something in the front though, because otherwise the edges of the scarf will kind of flap open. And this way you'll know that they'll kind of stay in place. All right, so if you want to add any other details to your snow person, you can. You can give them some other accessories, like maybe they're wearing earrings under their earmuffs, or you want to give them a hat or something like that. Again, feel free to get creative. I think that my snow person looks super cute, so I'm going to say my snow person is all set. Really is adorable. So I'm going to set this one to the side. Again, make sure that your workspace is nice and clean. We have one more project to work on, and then we've got to come back to our snow globe. So hopefully our paint will have dried on that one, right? So get your supplies ready, your workspace clear, and I'll meet you back for our final project. All right, my friends, what makes a snowy day snowy? Snowflakes, right? So our last project today is going to make a snowflake out of craft sticks. So you should have a set of craft sticks. You actually only need 3 of those. And then there should also be a really small paper cup, kind of like what you would get for ketchup or honey. And inside you will find some sequins. Now, Sequins are a lot of fun because they're super sparkly, but they're really little and they're really thin and they're really easy to lose. So if you have a nice spot on your workspace where you can dump them out, go for it. Otherwise, if you want to leave them in the cup, I would suggest doing that until we need them, just because I don't want them to accidentally like fall on the floor or get, brushed onto another part of your table, and then you're looking around for them thinking, what the heck, where did my sequins go? So I'm gonna leave mine in my paper cup here, but I know that they're there. And then you'll also need your glue dots. So that's going to be on a little piece of kind of wax paper. Let me get a piece off. This is what they come in, almost like a tape dispenser, and they are really nice to use for projects like this, because sometimes our glue stick or our school glue isn't quite strong enough. And that's when we bring out the glue dots. All right, so we are going to take our 3 craft sticks and we're going to layer them on top of each other so that it makes a snowflake shape. So this is why we've got the glue dots in our kit, because I think it's going to make it a little bit easier. So our first glue dot is going to go in the middle of one of your craft sticks. Doesn't matter which one. So kind of eyeball it. So this is about the middle of the craft stick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my craft stick and I'm going to hold it flat edge up. I'm going to take my paper that has the glue dots on it and I'm just going to press the glue dot down where I want it to go. Press, 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 press. Peel the paper back. And then if you look really carefully, you can see that glue dot on there, right? It just kind of almost looks like a little dot of water. Okay, so that's our first step, right? So now we want to add our second craft stick on top of this glue dot. All right, so look at it. You see exactly where it is, right? Then we're going to take our second craft stick, again, flat side, kind of in the middle, and then we are going to make a glue dot sandwich. Press, 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 press. Okay, so we've got 2 together, kind of in an X shape, right? Now we've got to add our third one. So this is our center piece right here. This is where we want that second glue dot to go. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to hold this nice and flat. We're going to take our paper, got my second glue dot here, and then I'm going to just press that into the center of my craft stick. I'm going to peel that away so you can see I've got my second glue dot right there. So now I've got to add my third craft stick. So I'm going to go for the middle of the craft stick, that nice flat edge there. I'm going to press that over my glue dot. I'm going to hold it. And then, ta-da! All right, now we've got to be a little bit careful of this. Glue dots are pretty strong, but they are not infallible. So if you really start to kind of move the pieces apart, they might separate, but that's okay because we've got a couple extra glue dots, right? So they're there if you need them. So now we have the opportunity to decorate our snowflake. This is where our sequins are going to come in. So I'm going to take my glue stick and I am just going to add glue to the surface of my snowflake. So I'm going to hit this top one and then the 4 little pieces coming off on the side. Lots and lots of glue. Again, we can be pretty generous here. So I'm holding my snowflake with one hand and then adding glue from my glue stick with the other. Glue, 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 glue. Okay. So now we can get our sequins out and we can add them onto our snowflake. So this is up to you. You can use some of your sequins, all of your sequins. You can put them into a pattern or just add them on. So I'm just going to start sticking my sequins onto the glue. I think I'm going to add some on the edges first. Uh-oh, that one was sticking to my finger. I'm getting a little bit gluey here. All right, and then I think I'm going to add this bigger one into the center there. All right. Now, if you have other supplies at home that you want to add, like maybe markers would work pretty well on the wood of our craft sticks. If you have other sequins, I dare to say glitter, which is something that you would definitely need your grown-ups okay to use because that can get really, really messy really easily. Even something like washi tape or small pieces of paper can be added onto this as well. And then you're probably looking at this and you're thinking, what am I going to do with this? It's a fair question, and you do have a couple of different options. You can just leave it as is, and it's a beautiful shiny snowflake. You can see it's reflecting all kinds of light with those beautiful sequins. If you have some yarn or string at home, you can have your grown-up help wrap it around one of the craft sticks, and then you would be able to hang it maybe on a wall or in a window. And you can also use this as part of a larger project. So if you're making something for somebody else, maybe a friend like Andy or Sandy, maybe a sibling or somebody else in your family, you can always use this as part of the decoration. So if you're making a card and you want to glue this onto it, you could do that. Maybe you want to add this into your snow scene. You could go ahead and you could glue that onto the side. It's kind of up to you. All right, just make sure that you do let this sit for a little bit so that the glue has a chance to dry and those sequins will stay put, because if we start wiggling it around too soon, sequins might fall off, and like I said, those can be really, really hard to find. So I'm going to set mine to the side so that's got a chance to dry. And then you remember I said we were going to come back and finish our snow scene, right? So I'm going to double check. Oh yeah, that looks good. I think my paint is pretty much, it's a little tacky, but I think it'll be okay. Just have to be careful, right? So I'm going to get my plastic packet. Let's open this up and see what we have inside. All right, so we have some cardstock trees that we can use to decorate our snow scene. So these little foam pieces are actually stickers. You can use these or not. We do have our glue stick. We have our tape as well. If you're more comfortable using those instead of the stickers, that's okay. These are kind of nice because you can see that they're a little bit thicker. So if we use these to stick our trees on, it's just going to make a little bit more three-dimensional. They'll stick out from the paper a little bit more, which is kind of a cool effect. But again, it's your project, so you can do it the way that you like. And then kind of wrapped up in the paper, there is a small piece of string. So at the end, when we're done with this, if you want to have your grown-up help you thread this through the top, again, it just means that you would be able to hang your snowy scene up somewhere, again, maybe on the fridge, on the wall, in a window, and enjoy it that way if you'd like. So I'm going to kind of wrap this back up in my piece of paper. I'm going to set that off to the side and focus on my trees. So my suggestion would be to take the two larger trees and start with those. Since they're so much bigger than the other ones, we want those to be in the background so that the smaller trees can be in the foreground, and it makes it a little bit easier to see them, right? Just like if you think about if you're doing something in school, if the really big tall kids stand in front and then the shorter kids stand in back, they can't see around them, right? So we want to make sure that we're starting with our two bigger ones. I am going to use 2 of my foam sticky pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is peel off the backing on one of them. And then I'm going to stick that kind of in the middle of my tree here. All right. So my tree is ready. I'm going to peel off the second backing to reveal another sticky part. And then I'm going to place my tree on my background. So I'm going to put it, I'm going to kind of line it up with this lighter blue stripe at the bottom here. I'm going to press that into place. All right, so you can see if I hold this from the side, there's just a little bit of space between the tree and the background. So it does kind of make it look like it's popping out at you, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to do the same steps for my second tree. I'm going to peel off one sticker backing, place that on my tree, kind of in the middle, peel off the second backing. So I've got another sticky part right there. And then I'm going to kind of line that up with my other tree here. Place that on my background. All right, so now I've got two trees in the background. So I can add the other trees kind of layered on top of them, right? Because these ones are just a little bit smaller. So if you want to, you can kind of line them up on your paper, sort of plan it out and see what you think looks the best. Maybe move them around a little bit. You can do that until they're stuck down, right? So choose whatever pattern you think looks the best. I think I'm gonna kind of move those a little bit. There we go. All right, so I think that's how I'm going to do mine. So again, I've got to get my sticker pieces and put my trees in place. So I'm going to peel off the backing, put that on the middle of my tree, peel off the second backing. So I've got my sticky piece here, and then I can stick that tree down in place. So we'll do the same thing for all four of our smaller trees. And then once you have those set up the way that you want, take a look. You do have the opportunity to add a little bit more of the white paint if you feel like now that you can kind of see where the trees are, there's some spaces where you want to add more snow to the background. That's totally cool. The original project was to do it with your fingerprints, and unfortunately, the way it was packaged, we didn't have enough of the little ink pads for us to use it that way. If your grown-up says it's okay and you don't mind getting a little bit messy, you can do fingerprints with your white paint as well. It is washable, but it may take a little bit of effort to get it off of your fingers because it is a tempera paint. So just be a little bit careful with that. You can also add any other decorations that you have at home. You probably would need to use permanent marker. So if you've got that at home and your grown-up says it's okay, because this is kind of a shiny background and it's a darker color, so it is going to be a little bit more difficult to draw on with regular markers or colored pencils. You know what, I think I might have, let me see if I can find a lighter color crayon. All right, I did find a white crayon, so I'm going to try this at the bottom. Actually, that doesn't work too badly, so I'm going to write my name at the bottom with a white crayon. So you can try that and see if that works for you. You could always use one of your scrap pieces of paper. You could cut that out into a rectangle and write your name on the paper. And then glue or tape that on the bottom as well. But, you know, we do like to sign our artwork because as an artist, you should be proud of what you created. So once your snowy scene is complete, you've added all of the decorations you want to, this is where we can add that loop up at the top. Again, might want a grown-up's help with this because it is a pretty small piece. So if you look, there are two very small holes up at the top here, right? So we are going to punch through. Let's see if I can do this with a crayon. Oh, that did actually work. I was going to say you might want a pen or a pencil to do that. So I just poked through so you can see now those holes are ready. I'm going to take my string. Let's see if I can thread it through one side. All right, so I threaded it through front to back. Now I'm going to thread it through back to front. There we go. Okay, so now I have my two loose ends here. I am just going to tie those into a knot. And then that will create a loop at the top that I can use. This is a little easier said than done here. Try it this way. All right, so once you've got your loop at the top, that just gives you the option to hang it up if you want to. There we go. All right, so that is our last project completed, our snowy scene. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you really enjoyed our wonderful winter story, Andy and Sandy and the First Snow by Tomie DePaola. And I hope that you had a lot of fun with our super snow-themed crafts as well. So we do have some other great programs coming up in February and March. So I encourage you to take a look at our January, February, March newsletter. And as always, let us know if you do have any questions about those. And I'm also going to let you in on a little secret. Coming up in February, we have a program called Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover. So our librarians are going to go through the stacks. We're going to find some really awesome books, and then we're going to wrap them up in brown paper. So you will have a couple of clues written on the cover, but you won't know what book is inside. It's a surprise. So you can choose a book from the display, check it out, and then inside there's a paper where you can write a review. And you might say, 5 stars, this book was so great, it was an awesome surprise. Or you might say, 1 star, this book was a stinker, it was not for me, this was not a good surprise. Either way, if you return those review slips to us at the kids' desk, you could be entered into a drawing and win a prize, which is pretty great, right? So that's going to go on throughout the whole month of February. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more incentive to stop by the library, come and visit us. And as always, we're happy to help you find great books, movies, and music as well. And then I will just put in a quick plug. If you do get a chance to take a picture of what you created, you all are so creative. You know, we give you the basic supplies, but you really make the art projects pop. So I'm always super excited to see what you've come up with, how you interpreted the projects that we made together. So if you get a chance to send in those pictures, I would love to see what you made. So I hope that you had a lot of fun. I hope I get to see you again next month. I hope you stay warm and stay safe. And I hope we get to see you in the library sometime soon. So I will say, take care. Goodbye for now. I'll see you later, my friends.